Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Sam. I'm an artist, illustrator and aspiring knitting designer coming to you from Dublin in Ireland. If you are new to my channel, this is my bi-weekly knitting podcast or craft podcast in which I try to show what my knitting adventures are, sometimes a little bit of a art excursion and anything and everything that is going on in my crafting world. This for me is a bit of an outlet to be able to build some sort of a crafting community, a knitting group of friends, but as well to learn from all of you and grow in this little adventure of my crafty thing. I'm rambling, absolutely rambling. Very sorry for my voice today. I just got over a big summer cold, which was disgraceful. But at least in Ireland here is raining, so I didn't really feel like I was missing out on those 2 days of sunshine that we have here. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. You can find me around the internet looking for Irish farm art. I have an Etsy shop in which I sell my original artworks and some prints. I have a Ravelry shop in which I try to share my knitting patterns, original designs, and so on and so forth. And thank you again for everybody that supported this channel on Ko-fi and subscribe, join the mailing list, or how's it called, the community here on YouTube. I didn't expect so much support. Thank you so much from the very bottom of my heart. So today on the show we have a couple of finished works, a couple of works in progress. We don't really have any acquisitions. I am trying to be a bit mindful of the yarn that I'm acquiring. It seems like every other podcaster here on YouTube is doing the same this year, not acquiring massive amount of yarns. And what else? A little bit of an admin type of talk as well about this channel that will come at the end, so don't worry about that. So let's start with finished works. The first one that I have is a pair of socks. You have seen this as a works in progress in a couple of podcasts before. I am not sure if these are part of a mystery surprise knit along. It's a pattern by Stephen West, so if you don't want to see it, you can just listen to my beautiful groggy voice and turn off the screen for 1 second or look away, because I'm gonna show you the Painted Bricks socks by Stephen West. Ta-da! They are on camera now. So I'm not sure if these are part of the surprise sock-along, surprise knit-along that Stephen West is running. I should have done some research before. Anyway, I was really attracted by this pattern, by the mere weird, interesting, super beautiful look of the stitch pattern. As you can see, it's a sort of a color work. This is not stranded color work. It's basically another way to add a touch of color to your knitting. The stitch that Stephen West is using is part of any stitch dictionaries. I've shown you last week the Japanese stitch dictionary. You can find it there. You can find it on the Vogue Stitch Dictionary as well, anywhere. So the thing that I was mentioning last week was that I do like to support the designers. In this case, I felt a little bit, I don't know, I could have saved those 10 euros and look at my Stitch dictionary and get the pattern. Anyway, I'm gonna retreat that. Although you can find the main pattern of the body of the socks on a Stitch dictionary, so difficult to say that. Stephen West really walks you through every step of making the socks, from the cast on all the way down to the ribbing and the interesting way that is doing the ribbing, and then the most important thing is the heel flap and gusset, which was extraordinarily simple to make. I haven't knitted a sock for a few months now, and the last few pairs of socks that I have knitted comprised of my great-grandmother heel construction, the one that she just traditionally used to make in her socks. So I kind of lost the ability or the knowledge to make a classic heel flap and gusset, and the Stephen West pattern was really helpful to bring that back to memory, adding some thoughtful techniques that I kind of didn't know or I forgot. So back on the pattern is quite worthy, so support the designers, and yeah, this is it. You can definitely take your Stitch dictionary and make up a sock pattern using a similar stitch type, and it's a completely fine, will save you 10 euro. But anyway, back on these socks, I made two. I use a combination of scrap yarn that I had in my scrappy box of yarns. These are Drops Fable for the orange and Drops Nord for the contrasting color. The Drops Fable is a classic 75-25, while Drops Nord is a combination of alpaca wool and pure wool. They are both 4-ply yarn or sock yarn fingering weight. The color combination is a bit weird, I have to admit. It looks like a crocodile scale type of body. The combination of orange and green doesn't really work too well together, but this was part of my mission of getting rid of scrap yarn, starch yarn that I wouldn't use in another design. I probably could have been more mindful in choosing two different color or two colors that work together better. But yeah, here it is. I'm very happy. They fit really well. I'm not gonna show you the fit on these socks, but they fit really well. They are nice and cozy, and a little bit of stretch that this Colorworks gives to the sock is absolutely lovely. The thing that I've done differently from the pattern is the cast on. I am not gonna tell you what the pattern calls for because it's for sale, and yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but I use my own developed technique of tubular 2x2 cast on. I have a video on this here on YouTube. I'm gonna link it below if I remember, and you can check it out. Apart from that, everything else follows the pattern. They are really pretty. From the inside, let me show you because it's quite interesting as well. Here is what you get. You need to be quite mindful that in one column you just drag the little thread of yarn from one row to the other. If you can see from the inside, the color work technique here is just knitting in the round in different rows of colors in stripes, and then you use a sort of a mosaic technique, or you just bring over a couple of stitches, you slip them for a few rows, and here is the result. There's nothing mysterious on this. Once again, is part of many Stitch dictionaries. Yeah, be careful with pulling a row, because it can give you a little bit of a pull on one side of the sock, which happened to me here. This is the first one that I've knitted. If you see, this column here is a little bit pulled. If I compare this to this one, this is nice and even, and this is not. On the second sock, I just left the thread to hang a little bit lower. Nothing major, as you can see. You can't really see any big long thread over here, but the little bit of slack on the thread really allows me not to get this effect. It's things that you learn. I don't mind. These are going to be scrappy socks that I use in shoes, around the house, so yeah, nobody's gonna judge my socks. These were the Painted Brick socks by Steven West, and they are gorgeous, and I can't wait to wear them. I don't think I'm gonna block them because the little bricks, scales, call them as you wish, they are a little bit raised. So my worry is if I block the socks, these are going to become completely flat, which I really don't like. Yarn has been mentioned. The needle that I used, once again, is not what is suggested in a pattern. I use DPNs, and I always knit on 3 DPNs plus 1 to work away. And I use a combination of 2mm needles for the ribbing and 2.5 for the socks. Now, I do like my socks to be a little bit fitted, so hence the lower needle size. And yeah, here we go. I have received a couple of questions on the needles that I use on DPNs, so let me try to be very quick on that. As I just mentioned, I use 3 needles plus 1 DPNs. I have tried to use a magic loop. I find myself a bit slower in the magic loop technique, so I don't really mind. The way that I do my DPNs is dividing the stitch count in half. One half goes on one needle, and the 2 other halves goes on the other 2 needles. Now, on the needle that has the biggest half, the half size needle, the stitches, I keep that as my instep and as my heel side of the sock, and that really helps very well, especially when you have to knit here flaps and gussets, because you have all the stitches there. On the other 2 needles I worked instep. Did I say instep before? I was meaning the bottom, the sole of the sock. The instep and then the top part of the toe. Everything works magically like that. I got this technique from Stitches by Mrs. D, if I'm right. I know that she uses different size of needles together in order to get the nice amount of stretch that you want. I'm not familiar with that. Have you used that technique, or using different sizes together? Would you recommend it? Let me know. But I definitely would recommend these socks, maybe in a nicer color. Let's go on with finished works, and this is the one that I'm most proud of. Ta-ta-ta! This is the Billy pullover by, I will say, Sari Nordlund. Let me check. And it is indeed by Sari Nordlund. So this is a cable jumper made, knitted in the round, with wonderful sleeves in the round. As I mentioned in many of my previous podcasts, while this was a work in progress, the inspiration for this jumper came from a TV show that I have seen on Netflix. It's an Irish TV show called Bad Sisters, and they, or the main character, is using a pullover, a jumper that really looks something like this. So fascinated by that, I went on Ravelry and I looked for cable sweaters, a traditional Irish cable jumper, and I found this one. This is not an iron sweater by any means, it's just a cable pullover. But it recalls very well the cable sweater that this girl was wearing on the show, and it's absolutely beautiful. Let me try it on for you. Here we go. This is how it fits. I think it fits beautifully. I am so impressed with this sweater. Now I have a t-shirt and a, how you call it, a sweatshirt, a gym top on the top of the t-shirt, and everything is mooching behind this jumper, so I apologize for the bulkiness, and I apologize especially to my Italian and French, Greek, Spanish friends that are currently facing a very bad heat wave, and I'm here in Ireland with 13, 14 degrees wearing a jumper in the middle of the summer. I'm very sorry. Anyway, it's a beautiful pattern. It's extraordinarily well written. It is really easy to make. I am going to make another of this straight away. I will find some wool in stash, cast on, because it's just so pretty. Now, it took me a while to get the hang of the stitch situation, and I made so many mistakes at the beginning especially, but that really helped me to understand how to unravel single rows and correct mistakes on cable knitting, which is absolutely great and a wonderful skill to have. Now, the pattern is written top down, which is really not my favorite way of knitting a jumper. You start from the back of the jumper, you connect on the top, and you knit down towards the yoke with this lovely raglan increase in pattern with cable. Wonderful, mind-blowing. And then you divide for the sleeve, start to knit in the body all the way down, and then the sleeves from the top and down as well. The yarn that I used is what is becoming one of my favorite yarns ever. It's Peer Gynt by Sandnes Garn, 100% Norwegian wool. It's a nice lofty DK that I find really useful and is not that bad. Badly priced, it's alright. The thing that doesn't help is the shipping costs here in Ireland. We unfortunately don't have many possibility of having European wool without paying an extortion on shipping, but it's fine. It's nice and yeah, not too expensive. So yeah, I can treat myself every now and then with a jumper quantity of Peer Gynt. Now, I was playing Yarn Chicken all the way through this jumper. I had 14 balls of wool, and you remember my calculations last week. I was basically at the mid side of one sleeve, and I had only 3 balls left, so I was calculating how many balls would I need for the other sleeve. Turns out that I only need 2 balls for one sleeve, so I was left with a tiny bit less than a full ball of yarn, which is absolutely great. I hate playing Yarn Chicken, but eventually this worked out. Modifications that I make on this jumper, because of course I made modification. This is a female designed jumper, so it's quite cropped, and there's no shaping on the waist and there's no shaping on the sleeves. There's minimal shaping on the sleeves, I have to say, but the cuffs in the original patterns are very flary, or yeah, too flary for my taste. So First off, on the body, I decreased on the side, on both sides, in pattern, 4 stitches each side. Now, you see there's a moss stitch panel on both sides. So the way I decreased is picking 2 stitches together, or knitted 2 stitches together, 2 times on each side of the panel, together with the purl stitches before the cable panel. And that is quite seamless as a decrease. So 4 stitches here, 4 stitches here. That gave me a little bit of a shaping on the body, which is absolutely gorgeous. I knitted the body a bit longer than recommended because I really didn't want this to flare too much and to be too short. So now it sits perfectly on my waist. Fantastic. By the way, for clarity reason, I knitted the 3rd size using a combination of 3 and 4 millimeter needles, just to leave it there. Now, I don't know if the camera is on focus, if it's focusing on me or focusing on David. I probably need to turn this David around. Yeah, so the other modification that I made is on the sleeves. I basically follow the stitch count that the pattern gives you, but the pattern tells you to decrease at the top of the sleeve going down and then knit a piece of the sleeve without decreasing. That gives you a bit of a flare on the ribbing. I kept my decreases even on the top of the sleeves, and then I knitted a piece flat, and then the last few decreases towards the cuff. Now, I would probably, if I go back or if I need another, decrease more on the cuff, at least 4 to 6 more stitches so that the cuffs can be a little bit tighter. I might still do that though, because I don't know if I do like the cuffs to be so big. But yeah, it's not a problem. It's not crazy. I keep moving my hands, but it's not crazy. It works fine so far. That's gorgeous. It's even blocked. Like, I mean, who am I even? Fantastic. So this was the Billy pullover by Sari Northland. So this is the end of my finished works. I am injured my hand, as you knew from my previous podcast, and thank you so much for everybody that gave me suggestion what to do. So I couldn't really knit that much, but thanks to all your recommendations, someone mentioned to use some it's a botanical extract. It's called, oh, I don't remember, but I got this cream. Is made out of sort of alpine flowers and works wonders with pains. So that I do have a pain in my knee as well, because I'm old and decrepit. The huge amount of running that I've been doing these few months to try and lose a couple of pounds got me a big pain at my knee. Went to the doctor, they couldn't find anything. It's just a muscular type of situation, so they said. So I put that as well on the knee and really works wonder. So thank you so much for that. Someone mentioned as well that there is a physiotherapist that is specialized in knitting injuries. I need to check their websites out because, you know, it's still there. It's probably 50% less than it was last week. But, you know, I'm always worried that I'm going to lose the ability of carry on with my knitting projects. And yeah, I really don't want that. Let's go on with the works in progress. The first work in progress that I have is the Yellow Magic. So I'm not going to try and pronounce this sweater. This is a pattern by Rauma, and you can find this pattern in this booklet here, which is 2019 Finul Herre, which I suppose means Finool, which is their yarn. Herre should be men, if I'm correct. The design that I'm knitting up is this one. It has this very Norwegian or Swedish name that I can't pronounce, but I will put a magic window here so you can see everything. It's a gorgeous bottom-up sweater knitted in the round, and it's knitted for Rauma Finool, which is one of my favorite yarns. It's beautiful, it's lofty, it is fabulous. It's a sport weight yarn. So, going into my stash, I do have some Rauma Finool, but it is so difficult to get in Ireland. It is so precious that it's sitting in my stash really proudly for a while. It happens that I had this thing here, and this is Jameson's and Smith, or Jameson's of Shetland, Spindrift, jumper weight, wool. It's a very thin yarn. The color is a very bright yellow. I think is quite true to life on the camera. It's called Mimosa. And I really bought this color, this yarn, because I loved the color. I bought this before Brexit, so I have no idea now if they still ship to Ireland or what is the situation there. But I have a huge amount of this in my stash. I tried to knit another jumper before, a pattern by Maxim Cyr. That didn't work out. I knitted a full jumper. It looked like a massive tent on me, and I unraveled it. So I swatched. I tried to figure out if I could get any gauge near to the one that Rauma suggests in their pattern. I couldn't, so the thing that I've done is taking my 260 stitch count for the bottom, if I use 2 and 2.5 millimeter needle, and start from there and find the size that was closer to my size. Now, I'm not going to tell you what is the size, what are the measurements or the perfect stitch counts, because it's for sale from Rauma, but I found eventually one of the sizes and I started this thing. I love that it has a little border in another color, and that is present both on the bottom ribbing, on the collar and on the sleeve cuff. Now, the pattern is recalling those diamond sweaters, very classic, but is all made in, no idea if you can see this on camera, it's all made in knit pearls and little traveling stitches. It doesn't really look that nice, to be honest. I am going to carry on with this. Try to wash it as well as I can when it's done and block it thoroughly to see if the stitch definition between knit and pearls work a little better. I find that this Jameson of Shetland wool, it's really rough and doesn't allow for a perfect stitch definition when it comes to knit and pearls. If I go back, I would avoid the inside diamonds and just knit the traveling stitch. That would probably give me a better stitch definition and as well be a little bit faster. This is like 3 weeks, probably 4 of work, and it's so slow. One, because the needles are very thin, and the second is because there's a lot of following the pattern. It's quite complicated. I may still do that, I just don't have the heart to unravel that piece that took me so long. It will come. I don't know if I will ever wear a bright yellow jumper. Worst case scenario, I can try and dye it a darker color. I kind of fancy a dreamy green jumper, but it is what it is. That was my first work in progress. The second one being another cable sweater. We have a theme here. This is of course the Saven sweater by Megan Babin, and I am knitting it using this yarn. This is Lopi, Let Lopi, the number is 9420, which is a very dark blue that on camera looks almost black. Now I don't know if you can see the darkness of the blue, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, of course, you will not be able to see the stitch pattern here. As per usual, I'm gonna try and put a picture. I am knitting on the first sleeve and it's almost done. Now it's massive. I don't know what it is supposed to be like, but I think the sleeve goes from the sleeve all the way up to the neckband, so should be fine once is stitched together. I just miss a tiny little bit over here and then I cast off. Gorgeous pattern. I lost a bit of emoji on that pattern because the yarn is very dark. I can't really see much in evening time, which is the time that I tend to knit the most. I'm just relaxing there in front of the television and knit. So that is quite difficult. I have to have all the lights on and glasses and all of that. Anyway, it will come potentially, eventually before winter. Now I am knitting size 46 as I was recommended. This is my second attempt of starting the sleeve. I knitted before a size smaller, then I look back at the pattern and all the recommendations and yeah, I unraveled and I started again. This now feels a little bit too big. I'm on gauge-ish, so we'll see what comes out of this. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to unravel it because the yarn is all sticky together very, very much. It's really, really woolly and rough. It's not bad to knit. I am finding quite easy the knitting movement. I am not finding easy the correcting mistakes. In fact, we do have a mistake on the top of this sleeve that I'm not going to correct because A, it's dark blue, you can't see it, and B is just a tiny mistake on one of the cables, and yeah, it's gonna be fine. It looks like a feature on the top of a sleeve. What else to say about that? Nothing really. It's a work in progress. I don't know how much I will be able to knit on this week or next, and yeah, we'll see. So I'm left with two works in progress, plus my crochet blanket, which is still sleeping, because I kind of tried to crochet a little bit while my injury, my pain was really bad. And then with all your recommendation, I managed to get a hold on that and I finished this, I finished the sock, I continue working on other projects. So that blanket is relinquished in a bag and it will come together. It's not a priority at all. That was it for finish works and works in progress. Let me take off this jumper because I'm starting to boil. Now, plans for future knitting. I really want to make another Billy pullover. I don't know if it's the time now to make another of those. It's in my the back of my mind, of course, and that will come together. I need to buy yarn though, because I don't have in my stash any DK weight yarn, so I probably need to get some more Peer Gynt or find other nice DK sort of yarn. Apart from that, I am thinking of some new accessories. I'm working on a glove pattern, original pattern. I never made finger full gloves. Before, I never designed finger glove before. I always design mittens. I feel like they are more common and easier for a beginner's designer. But I really want to make some gloves. That was my discovery last winter. I followed a pattern by Per Soho, and I really enjoy making gloves with fingers, and I use them all the time, so why not? I'm trying to figure out if I can incorporate some of the traditional color work, especially that come from my region, into the gloves. We'll see what comes about. Now we are just at the planning stage. Next thing that I'm doing, I have finally submitted my final papers for the tech editing course with the Knitting Guild Association. I mean, I have feelings. I will tell you about my feelings whenever I complete the course. But I found the third submission a bit easier than the previous two. It's probably due to the fact that I'm grown as a knitter and as a designer, and applying the rules that I learned from the previous two exams, lessons, really helped me to tackle this one. For this lesson, we had to tech edit 3 patterns following different style of editing or of formatting. We had to write a couple of articles, a couple of books, a review. You know, the most difficult part for me is that I'm not a native English speaker. And I've learned my English in Ireland. I work as a lawyer in Ireland using my Irish non-native English. Now, the Knitting Guild Association is American and is composed, of course, by native speakers. And of course, I know that this is massively important when you are a tech editor. But I feel like all the error marks or rejections that I had on my previous papers were because I'm using expressions or way of typing words, way of describing stuff that is typically Irish or British at most. So, an example, how you spell color in British English versus American English, or I don't know, the use of commas, or I could come up with a million, but you get the situation here. And the difficulty is actually stopping my non-native Irish speaking English and turning into the American English that is required for the course. It's so complicated. I bought and I read so many books on spelling and grammar and all of that. It's mind-blowing. So that sometimes when I write an email for work or a paper or a research or an article or whatever, I need to switch back my mind into the common way of speaking over here, and I'm going mad. Anyway, I submitted the lesson. My tutor is reviewing it. I really hope there's not gonna be many errors or rejection, and get done with that. I will film a full video reviewing the course and the materials and all of that when I'm done, but I really need to get this off my chest because, yeah, it's a lot. I don't know if knowing how the course was structured and what it will give me, it would have been giving me, I would still do it. I don't know. Certainly more skills, and certainly the fact that I might not think of taking any job as a tech editor because I realize that I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying reviewing the patterns. I'm not enjoying the attention of, I don't know, all of that. I do like writing knitting patterns. It's some artistic outlet. And I believe there are different type of people, the artistic side of the house and the technical side of the house. I am not technical by any side of the imagination. And if I go back, I don't know if I still do this course. Huge amount of money. It's really intense. A positive side, it gave me a lot of skills, both on the writing way, the standardizing of a pattern, and as well the grading and all of that thing, which is good. But I could employ a tech editor to do that for me. Anyway, that was it for this week. Now, channel talk. If you are not interested in this update or these things, my personal struggles, please consider to subscribe to this channel, give me a thumbs up, and if you decide to support me on Ko-fi or anywhere else, I really appreciate that very, very much. So, channel talk. You've seen that I have started or restarted to upload art videos on YouTube. And I originally thought of uploading art videos without pushing any notifications to you viewers, because if you are here, it's very likely that you're here for the knitting, not the art, and may be a bit confusing. So in the past I used to have another channel on YouTube where I showed only art, and that was my first type of channel that I got into knitting, and then I started this one. Now, a few months ago, I merged the two together just because I couldn't have the mind space of managing two channels and uploading in different schedule. It was like living two separate lives that I don't really like. I'm already doing that on Instagram, having one channel for my art and one account for the knitting, which is fine. Having said that, I have lately got into filming a little bit more art stuff. I am enjoying very much my new studio and trying to figure out my way into painting with watercolor, which is very exciting for me. And yeah, so what is gonna happen going forward is that this podcast will be still remaining on a Friday every other week or every 3 weeks, while my art videos will be aired on Sundays. I will push notification to everybody. So you will know that if it's a video from me on a Sunday, it's probably an art video, and feel free to watch it. I mean, if you are into art at all, it might be nice, and please share any feedback with me for those videos. Or this might be a way for you to get introduced to another artistic endeavor, which might be painting with watercolor, painting with oils, and so on. I will though state at the very beginning of the videos, the art videos, in my intros, this is an art video. So you are not mistaken. If you click on my video and you see me, that is going to be art. You can just skip it. Does that sound good? I'm trying to do that because you know, it's one of the other outlets that I have, and people seem to enjoy on my artistic podcast, artistic videos, and people seem to engage very much, and that helps me to grow as well as an artist, as an illustrator. Hope that makes sense. that was it. Next week I won't be, or the week after. Anyway, I'm planning a trip through Europe. I am going to visit Amsterdam, so hopefully I will be able to see Stephen and Penelope's shop for the first time. And yeah, that is it for this channel. If you don't hear from me, I am probably away. And I will be back with another podcast in a few weeks' time. For now, take care, enjoy the summer if you have any. We don't here. It's raining. It's been raining for the past 3 weeks. And I will see you very soon. Bye bye.